Great to have you with us. Now, the Supreme Court will on July 4 rule on an application filed by businessman Alfred Agbeshi-Woyome seeking to temporarily halt his oral examination by the Attorney General. The court on June 8 granted a request by the AG's departments to question the businessman to understand whether he owns properties, has the means of offsetting the debt owed, as well as to tell the court how he spends the 51.2 million Ghana cedis paid him. Lead counsel for the businessman Ken Anko argued today that the examination be put on hold as they had filed for a review of the sole judge's decision allowing the oral examination. This was opposed by the Deputy Attorney General Godfrey Yeboah-Dame, who described the move as part of ploys used by the businessman to delay the execution of the court's order. We'll be bringing you more on this issue in our later bulletins. Now, 2 teenagers are in the grips of the Eastern Region Police Command for possessing substances suspected to be Indian hemp. The two, Evelyn Dede Koko and Felix Jima, were arrested in an attempt to transport 30 parcels of narcotics together with cassava from Huhunya to Nkrakai, all in the Eastern Region. Confirming the incident, Public Relations Officer for the Eastern Region Police Command ASP Ebenezer Tete said the two were arrested upon the tip-off. The arrested are Evelyn Dede Koko, a 19-year-old girl, and Felix Jima, an 18-year-old boy. They were arrested at Huhunya. An informant told the police the two suspects were heading towards Nkrakai with 2 sacks of dried leaves suspected to be Indian hemp. When they were arrested, they had in their possession about 30 bags of compressed dry leaves suspected to be Indian hemp. ASP Tete added that samples of the dry leaves will be forwarded to the crime lab for authentication. More on this story as well in our later bulletins. Now, the coalition of Bonded Unemployed Diploma Nurses, midwives and allied health professionals are threatening to picket as the Ministry of Health if its members are not posted before 4th of July 2017. In April this year, members of the coalition called off their picketing as the Health Ministry after they received an agreement with authorities to get them cleared financially for their immediate postings. In a statement issued on Wednesday, the coalition disclosed members are frustrated and disappointed that although the Ministry of Health Kwekwa Jimaimenu told them financial clearance had been secured, they were yet to see or hear any official communication from the Health Ministry. Nana Doma is a spokesperson for the coalition. He joins us on the phone. Nana, what makes you think this time the picketing will yield something positive?
All right, thank you very much. Before I talk, let me use this opportunity to thank you and then your team for giving us the platform to tell the people of Ghana of our problems. To hit straight to the point, we think the picketing will do something because we are seeing that that is one of the languages that the ministry understands better. This is because you have passed through all the legal or the diplomatic steps and nothing is coming out. Since the time that we had the promise, as you rightly put it, that we have been secured the financial clearance, we made a necessary follow-up to the Human Resource Department as to the time that our name will be used under the various 3 agencies in Ghana, that is Ghana Health Service, Charge and the Teaching Hospital, respectively. Despite all the follow-ups, we are constantly procrastinated and giving stories of we could not understand. So we think that for this and the ticketing will be the only thing the ministry will understand. Since we are going to sleep there, we are going to cook there, and nothing can bring us back. If after 72 hours, we have not seen our places of work, we are going straight to the practice house. In that case, we think it will match something better to us.
Okay, so this time, if the picketing does not work, you go to Flagstaff House.
Exactly, because we think maybe our grievances have not reached the doors of our father of the country, that is His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. And therefore, going to the ministry for about 72 hours, in other words, 3 days, if the ministry is able to solve our problem, then we think the best person to go is the landowner of the country, that is the president. And in that case, we are not ready to present our petition to the ministry again. We rather want the chief of staff for our father himself, Nana Addo, to receive our petition, saying the ministry, being our direct employer, has failed us. We have to climb extra hard on the ladder to get our needs met.
Now, is there no other strategy you can think of? It seems to me that picketing at the health ministry, picketing at the Flagstaff House is just different places but the same activity.
Well, but for now, we don't know any means. We don't know whether the media and good people of Ghana can suggest any other means. We don't have money to take the ministry to court for deceiving us. Of course, we don't have anything to do after going to the ministry. The little money that we have been going there almost all the time. In 2 weeks, I've been going, and we are always being adjoined, giving us reasons upon reasons. So we think we don't know any other thing to do. The only thing we have now is our body, our strength, of which we are not liable for fighting, but rather going there for picketing, not any picketing that will call for anything disrespectful. We are going there in the humble way, crying to the ministry to attend to our grievances. And if not, it's still not there, then we think we have the right to go to the Flagstaff House. So we are not going there in a violent way, in a very humble way as children, respecting for something from our parents. That is the core aim of it. But we think the petition will help because now we have done all the necessary follow-up. And so there's a constant procrastinating. So we think going to the Flagstaff House for the ministry is the best option. If you don't know whether the humble thing, we suggest any other thing that you think is help. But we think that is the best thing you have to do now.
So what if it doesn't work? What if after all your picketing, they call your bluff?
Well, but for now, we think that we have the roadmap that we are following in a very legal way. And if the picketing does not work, then we think we are going to advise ourselves. We have a next step to do. But until we finish with the picketing, our next step will be buried for now. When the picketing doesn't work, we let the media know our next intention to follow.
Now, how have you been able to survive over the period where you've not been posted, you've not been working?
But it's not easy. It's not easy. And the most sad thing is that most of us, the parents borrowed money. Some people were schooled on loans. And now they were thinking that right after service or after votation, we are going to be employed so that we can settle those debts. Now people on our shoulders, and apart from that, just imagine after completion of tertiary, a professional school like nursing, and you were in the house doing nothing. And even what brought out was that now if you look at the nurse to patient ratio, according to the research conducted by the Ghana Registered Nurse and Midwife Association, it's somehow 1:28 or 1:22. If my memory serves me right. So, boss, until when are the people of Ghana going to die from health services here in the house, professionally trained? And one dangerous thing is that the more you stay in the house, the more you lose your skills. You know, the more you practice, the more perfect you become. So if you are to stay in the house for 2 years, would have not been employed after training, and right after you are being posted, you'll be left to the world alone. Of course, boss, what do you think will happen? These are some of the things that we are basing on to let the people of Ghana know that even though we are going in for our job, our services should be rendered for the importance and the interest for good people of Ghana, so far as their health is concerned. And as you know, before a country will progress, it depends on the health status of the people. Because human resources is the basic need for what? Country development. So these are the issues that we are looking at, boss.
Right. All the best, Nana Duma, as you go about this activity. That was the spokesperson for the Coalition of Unemployed and Bonded Diploma Nurses. Now, Charlotte Osei, chairperson of the Electoral Commission, has been explaining why results for Ghana's general election delays. She was speaking as the launch of the report on the 2016 election by the Ghana Catholic Bishops' Conference.
There's a difference between what people want and what it is or what it should be. The Electoral Commission must be guided by law from the beginning of the process to the end of the process. Now, when we do elections, as we did in December, it's two different elections we are doing. We are doing parliamentary elections and presidential elections. And they are two very different, not too different, but the results processes legally are different for both. They all start from the announcement of what has been compiled at the polling station. But when you announce results at the polling station, that's not final. It now moves to the constituency collation centers. And that's where the final declaration of parliamentary results are done. So you take the result sheets from the polling stations to the constituency collation centers. So when you get to the constituency collation centers, there are two sets of results you are bringing there, the parliamentary and the presidential, which are now collated and put on two different result sheets, one for parliamentary, one for presidential. For the parliamentary, if there are any concerns, you know, people, the results you're taking from the polling stations have been signed by the party agents. It does not, the party and the candidates' agents. It doesn't mean that those results are final, because an agent may actually say on the sheet that I am not accepting this result because there was overvoting or there was this irregularity. So when it gets to the collation, the constituency collation center, the officers then now have a duty to look into those results. Have all of them been accepted? Fine, you collate it and you do the final. If there's something that has been complained about, you also have a duty to investigate it at that point. A party or a candidate may have asked for a recount. If you get one recount at the polling station, the second recount should happen at the collation center. And that's why the final parliamentary results are only announced at the constituency collation center when all these processes have been completed. Now for the presidential, it doesn't end there. The presidential is one constituency. The entire country is one constituency. So now whatever has been collated at the constituency collation centers, yes, because we have a very open and transparent process. The media, the candidates, the agents would have polling station results, and they'll also have what has been collated at the constituency level. Final declaration for parliamentary has been done, but it doesn't end there for the presidential. The presidential results now have to travel to the National Collation Center in Accra at the EC head office last year, where now the candidates' agents and the party agents finally have to sign off the results. They sign it off, we collate it, and then it comes to the returning officer for the presidential elections, who is the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, who now signs off, and then the formal announcement is made. We had always said that results will be announced within 48 to 72 hours after the elections were completed. On December 7th, elections happened in almost all the constituencies except two. On December 8th, voting continued or now started in those two outstanding constituencies where it couldn't happen on the Wednesday. There was no way we could have announced results on the 8th of December. It would have been extremely unfair to those voters who were now voting on the 8th. We had to wait for their results to also, for them to complete voting, and then for their results to start going through the collation process. And again, all those results had to travel to Accra. And we also had to look at the National Collation Center. Are there any complaints? In a few constituencies, there were complaints of overvoting. We now had to investigate. Were there material complaints? Was it just sour grapes? But you have a duty to investigate all that. And we finally announced on the 10th. We did not even reach the upper limit of the 72 hours. So I don't see how there could have been a delay. Yes, there was a lot of anxiety. People felt we could have been talking, but there was also a delay at the National Collation Center in having candidates' agents sign off the results so that we could also now formally start putting it out. And the systems we had put in place so that the results could start coming out in bits and pieces as we were rolling it out did not work as efficiently as they should have worked for all sorts of reasons which we are still investigating. And so we couldn't bring it out piecemeal. So there was a lull in terms of bringing it out, but there was no delay in the final outcome because we actually worked within the lower timelines that we had given. We said 48 to 72 hours. Final voting happened on the 8th, and we declared on the 10th. I think it just means that for the Electoral Commission, there's a lot more education we also have to do, not just on the processes of the voting, but we need to focus education the next time on what happens after you have voted and what people can expect in terms of the results collation and the final announcement. Thank you.
EC chairperson, Madam Charlotte Osei, there now the executive director of the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs, Dr. Rashid Draman, says Parliament has been compromised in the 150,000 Ghana Cedi National Lottery Authority NLA bribery scandal. legal advisor of the NLA, is entangled in an alleged bribery scandal, which also involves the immediate past members of Parliament's Finance Committee. In an interview with Joy News' Latif Idris, Dr. Draman said it's humanly impossible to remain fair after taking money from an interested party.
This is scandalous, and this is a further dent on the integrity of Parliament, particularly coming on the back of some of what we know already since the beginning of the 7th Parliament. The fact that, you know, this is a practice that's widespread in our public institutions doesn't make it justifiable by anybody from Parliament, particularly because Parliament, unlike any other institution of our state, has an oversight responsibility. And that's a very heavy responsibility on the 275 members. So we can't justify this in any way at all. I think committee members don't have any business taking money from any institution at all. Our Parliament must be paying for this. Look, I think the practice where anything that has to happen in Parliament, our committee members have to go out of Accra, I think that practice has to stop. Right now, if you go to the Job 600, I think there are a lot of committee rooms in almost all parliaments around the world. That is what they use those committee rooms for. You sit down, if there's a bill, you sit there and look at it. I mean, Parliament has to make time. There are times for committee meetings. And this practice where, you know, because maybe Parliament is handicapped in terms of resources, then you get all these groups coming in. They all have an agenda.
How dangerous is this if you have our members of Parliament getting, funds to push through bills? Is it a danger to our democracy?
Yeah, it's very dangerous to our democracy. It's very, very dangerous. For instance, somebody could come, they want a particular law passed that will give them, let's say, maybe a tax incentive for 50 years. And then they will come and use whatever facilitation means to get this through. And then 50 years down the road, you and I and our children will be suffering from this singular act by some group of people. So it's very dangerous for our democracy. And I think that it's important that the time has come for our Parliament to look seriously into ensuring that there is a fund, whether you call it an oversight fund or a parliamentary fund or any fund at all, that will be dedicated to making sure that if members, in the event that they have to go out, those funds are made available so that they don't have any link with these institutions except showing up to answer questions and defend whatever is in the document. Because these people are supposed to be answering questions before this parliamentary committee. And if they are the ones paying for you to go and sit there, they are the ones paying for your hotel, they are the ones paying for your food, it's humanly impossible to be asking the tough questions that need to be asked.
Now, the group CEO of Unilever, Paul Pullman, says the multinational company is setting up in Ghana as part of plans to create 5 million new jobs across the globe in the coming years. The strategy, according to Mr. Pullman, will start with the creation of an initial 3,000 jobs. In all of this, however, the group CEO failed to give any timelines. Paul Pullman said this when he led a delegation from the company to the Flagstaff House when they discussed the company's strategy with Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Baumia.
One of the things that I've put into the company is a commitment to create 5 million jobs, that is especially smallholders. And Africa is our focus, not surprisingly, and that's one of the reasons we're sitting here. Because if you are going to have, in about 30 years' time, half of the world's youth population, and you have an enormous youth bulk, in your country, probably 60% of your population is below the age of 25, more or less. We just came from Nigeria, and the same would be true in many other countries. We just have to be sure that as we grow responsibly. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Responsibly for us means sustainably. No? Responsibly for us means circular economy. Responsibly for us means creating decent jobs into the value chain. And doing that all together, it's very clear that if each of us works individually, we only bring it so far, and this is what we have. And that is why we created the Sustainable Development Goals. That's why we created goal number 17 of partnership. It's by working together that you can really reach a lot more people. So the good thing is we have in Ghana right now made enormous investments in our industrial base. In the last, we normally spend about 4 to 5% on capital as a company. Here we spend 30%. We build new warehouse, we build production facilities for tea, for laundry. We really are setting ourselves up for Ghana today, but also we think and invest for Ghana tomorrow.
Now, on his part, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia said the Akufo-Addo administration is working towards creating a low-tax economy to make Ghana the most business-friendly economy on the African continent.
The president's own vision for this country is a vision of economic transformation. And he basically wants us to build an economy that will result in a transformation of Ghana. And essentially, we want to move away from a basic raw material producing and exporting country to a country that adds value, that is manufacturing. Because if you look at the value chain, that is where you ought to be. That the value is created when you actually manufacture and add value to the products, the raw materials that you produce here. And so the whole vision is to create an economy that is able to deliver that transformation. And that economy, to be able to deliver that transformation, must be a business-friendly economy. Must be an economy with an investment climate that encourages investment for the long term.
Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia there. This is Joy News Today. We have more stories after this break. Stay with us. Still live on Joy News Today. Now, arts and cultural studies in Ghana is underfunded, and many artists are discouraged by the stereotype involved and lack of job opportunities. But new graduates from the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology are hoping to reverse this trend through a series of exhibitions to solicit support for arts in the country. The latest exhibition opens in Accra this week. Joy News' Justice Bedu spent time with some of the students and has filed the following report.
Inside Ghana's foremost museum for science and technology, these young people are breaking barriers. These are students of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, setting up for their end-of-school exhibition. But the lack of support for the arts in Ghana means these students are graduating into a minefield of uncertainty. Amongst them, Tracy Thompson, whose installation explores the uses of plastics.
Honestly, it's not easy being an artist, and I don't think that this is like an exhibition to, okay, I'm done as a final year, so it's as though I have a certain art form I'm working in, so I'm going to continue that for the rest of my life. No, I think it's a more challenging experience where I have to grow and mature as an artist.
Like Tracy, many of these students want to develop newer ways of doing art.
We are not necessarily relying on opportunities that exist because those we know are lean. What we're doing is trying to invent possibilities, invent new ways that we can survive the hardships or the difficulties of our time with this show and with contemporary art production.
This is a country where the average university student is expected to fit into shoes of conventional professions like medicine or law. Many of the young people here have already braved the odds in a society that is usually stereotypical about what a university education should offer. But now, moving into the real world of work, it will take more than just their passion to make ends meet. And that is because as rich as this country's cultural and art history is, very little of it is documented locally. Like many young graduates in Ghana, the road ahead may be bumpy and sometimes unfriendly. But it seems these students may well be the game changers, ready to turn around the story of arts in a country that has plenty of it. Justice Baidu, Joy News, Accra.
Those look like they're shaping up to be some very beautiful art installations. Now, for years, balustrades have been the toast of many homes in Ghana. The vertical railings or vase-like railings made of stones, metals, and other materials decorated verandas and stairs of public and residential buildings. However, the once booming trade for local welders is facing fierce competition from imported materials. Joy News' Kwesi Deborah takes a look at the dwindling fortunes of balustrades and its effects on livelihoods.
Balustrades first appeared between the 13th and the 17th centuries. The support structure can be found in ancient bas-reliefs depicting Assyrian palaces. Concrete balustrades especially have adorned Ghanaian homes since the 17th century. Metal balustrades emerged later and found their way in almost every modern home. Kofi Cantona is a metal balustrade fabricator, a trade he has engaged in for the past 5 years. He says the job has helped him to put up a 2-bedroom apartment for himself. Cantona used to employ 6 people to help him at this shop. Only one is left now, a situation he blames on the influx of imported shiny balustrades.
Made in Ghana. Even made in Ghana, made in Ghana, Ghana, no man, profit.
This is made in Ghana. We used to get more profit. The imported ones have destroyed the business. It's unfortunate we don't have a say.
Concrete,
Kofi Danso is an arc welder. He used to work with imported balustrade, but now he has reverted to locally made ones.
The entire I prefer local one and it's China for them.
The imported ones are beautiful, but they are not strong. They are cast, which easily break. The locally made ones last forever. Clients know it's light. At the least pressure, it breaks. It's not durable, but they still prefer it to the local one. Ambrose Zango is welder and seller of both imported and locally made balustrade. He has been working with local balustrade for 15 years. He says an imported balustrade of this size is 30 Ghana cedis. A local one of the same length is half the price. Ambrose says despite the cost, clients prefer the imported ones, though it is not durable. In many instances, they want a hasty work, and our people can't give us the quantity. The designs of the imported ones are beautiful, but there aren't machines to replicate them. The metal department of the College of Integrated Rural Art and Industry of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology has been at the forefront of metal fabrication in the country. Dr. Kafui Kwesiajiman is a lecturer of metals production and fabrication.
The local artisans don't have control over imports. You can only use what you can get to buy on the market. So they buy enamel paints, popularly known as oil paints. Some also from seconds, the auto-based paints, then acrylic paints. That's the best that they can do. But the balustrade that people are chasing now for the hotels and for the hospitality industry, in as much as ours compete effectively. Some people have choices of silver finish, golden finish, bronze finish, copper finish, and those ones can be done through what we call electro plating. And the plating that is done in Ghana is only for jewelry. They have little chambers for plating silver, plating gold, and those ones. If you have a work as big as a balustrade, nobody has a chamber big enough to plate such a work for you. So that becomes a limitation. So when a person comes to your shop with such a demand, what it means is that you cannot meet it. The person will have to resort to buying already made balustrades on the market.
This balustrade is made by students of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. If local artisans are equipped enough, maybe they'll be able to make a bronze finished one, and no one will be found standing in our streets. We're invited. Reporting for Joy News, Kwesi Debra.
I think I'll take Kwesi's invitation. Those look like some very beautiful balustrades. Now, to other parts of the country, residents of Asesensu, a farming community in the Wasa-Memphis East district of the Western region, have been forced to hold a vigil for fear of being attacked by military officers stationed in the upper Wasa forest. One person sustained gunshot wounds on Wednesday after military officers fired several warning shots and arrested 8 others. It followed a confrontation between sections of the youth who demanded a Chinese miner transporting an excavator pay a token before he is allowed to use a bridge in the town. Ohiming Teria has been following up.
Residents say several appeals to the Chinese miner, identified only as Joel to support the mechanization of a borehole for the basic school in the area, has proved futile. The token demanded by the youth was to support maintenance of a bridge constructed through communal labor. The demand by the youth, who had mounted a barrier, angered the mined workers, who fired several shots to disperse them. A pump action gun in their possession was seized and handed over to the elders of the community in the ensuing confrontation. The military, however, arrived few minutes later after being called in allegedly by the Chinese miner and fired several warning shots, one of them hitting the ankle of 32-year-old Yao Nkrumah. He was later treated and discharged by the Dunkwa Government Hospital after being referred by the Diaso Health Center. Asesensu Abusuapani handed over the gun seized by the youth to the Sehibekwai police. He tells me residents have been forced to flee the town.
Ehu abeto omoso fisesisi me free be kwai kra ba no se omote se ka bi kra ba no mu dwane sa soja for manyante sa soja for nsa na jomba babu omo.
The people are living in fear. They take to their heels anytime they see a vehicle entering the town. They say the military will return to harass them. I have been trying to convince them, but all to no avail. We are all living in fear.
Nam so ma me ka kire ebi abetimi abase bi kra ono wo kan ni biti abase obetimi abeye betimi abeye bibi sisi de hu kase ato for it.
His fear is confirmed by residents who are afraid to go to bed. They have kept vigil throughout the night for fear of being harassed by the military. As at the time Joy News was leaving the community at about 2 a.m., residents, including these school kids, were still loitering around. Some of them want the president to intervene.
The security fired indiscriminately. He fired 5 times, so we forcefully seized the gun from him. We realized he was drunk. The entire town is in fear because of the action of the military. Some of the people have fled the town and are yet to return. We will stay awake because we suspect the military men will be here. They have been protecting the Chinese.
Adia omuwo baby omuwo forest guard China for omuye adwumandi eheya na omudi akoniaba
Now my brother is shot in the leg. How do you ban illegal mining when foreigners are doing it? How dare you? Are we not human beings?
Forest. How dare you? And I had
I live in fear. I even fled and left my child behind. The sight of their uniform scares me. I took refuge in the bush. President Akufo-Addo should intervene.
Now, still on illegal mining, the miners whose mining boats were being destroyed by a task force from the Upper Dentra West and East Assemblies have held insults and curses on the members of the team at Subin. We'll be bringing you more on this story later on in the bulletin.